Florida, and welcome to the College COD. Well, it's partnered up with Florida Mutineers. Invitational here for you guys on the weekend of my whole shift with me proper. And we've got a really fun one set up. A lot of Florida schools represented here for this $1,000 prize pool overall. And proper, we're going to get two Florida schools right off the get-go. So we're going to be in for a fun day.
Yeah, I mean, what a better way to start off a collegiate event partnered with Florida Mutineers than two Florida schools. We're going to end up having UCF versus Full Sail Armada, two new rosters for us for these two colleges being represented. You know, we had a lot of household names still represented for Full Sail Armada. I know they have a passion pit and a half in that facility down there. I'm excited to see what they have to offer us today.
So as far as the schedule is concerned, again, all this presented by Zaxby. So if you're getting hungry throughout the day, make sure you go and check yourselves out some Zaxby's. We'll be starting, of course, with the round of 16, moving on to the round of 8, and then we'll push into the winners semifinals. We'll stop there for the winners bracket on the day, and then go down to complete the evening and the lower bracket. We'll be doing lower round 1 and, or pardon me, lower round 3 and lower round 4. Tomorrow we'll be back, same time, same place, starting things off with lower round 5, going into the winners finals, lower finals, and then, of course, the grand finals to happen after that. So with all that mentioned, we didn't actually say it specifically, but since we're saying upper and lower, yes, this is a double elimination style bracket. Best of fives, I believe, all the way through as well here, Andy.
Yep, that's right. Best of fives will be played, and this is going to be a really good test for a lot of these colleges. Like I already mentioned, you know, in between UCF and Full Sail Armada fielding new rosters, they're not the only ones. There was a lot of recruiting that was already transpiring even after the CCL X ABC event that we had not too long ago. So they're fielding all of these new 4-player rosters. Kind of figuring out what pieces fit where here in Cold War, just ahead of what we have coming November 5th for Vanguard and when the season inevitably kicks off for us.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, man. I think everyone's really excited, especially after the beta, just to kind of see what's going to be in front of us for Vanguard. But we obviously know what to expect overall here for Cold War. The biggest thing I think just behind this is the fact that, for a lot of these teams and players, they've kind of moved on from beyond competing in this game in particular and looking to move forward into Vanguard. And with that comes a couple of different offseason titles, things of that nature. A lot of people playing Modern Warfare 19 just to kind of get the feel back for what it feels like to double sprint and all those things. But with that kind of in the back of our mind, you know, talking about these first two squads, I don't know if we actually have a bracket image or not that we could pull to, but you had already mentioned it. It's the Full Sail Armada going up against Esports at University of Central Florida. And we already have our maps already selected out for the 5 modes, obviously, that we'll be playing here today. And, you know, we really can't take too much away from what was done during the regular season because we're so far removed from it. But I think the biggest thing that we could at least allude to is the fact that we know for a fact that Full Sail has a pretty resounding esports program on campus, and they've always provided some pretty entertaining matches in the past, including their initial inaugural season during Modern Warfare, where they were one of our kind of top teams overall throughout the entirety of the season.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, for one of those teams that we just had placed, I believe, was top 16 in our finals for the regular season at the end of it all. I mean, we don't have Void, Frequency, Breezy, and especially Sneaky. We were casting over Sneaky, you know, ever since the Modern Warfare year. Not going to be fielded today. So it's going to be interesting to be able to see what the recruiting process and actually look like for Full Sail Armada, having that facility down there in Florida to be able to offer, you know, these young individuals not only a pathway to be able to get their college degree, but to play Call of Duty along the way. Esports at UCF, on the other hand, they're on that same sort of flame as well. I mean, they got really Kyle, the Brazilian, inside of this roster as well. And if you're a fan of just amateur Call of Duty, if you were going to any one of these locals that were happening when the world started healing throughout the summer, you probably know who Kyle the Brazilian is, a very explosive player. Very awesome to be able to see them play through collegiate Call of Duty.
Very solid indeed. I know he's one of those guys that is looking to kind of push into the challenger scene as well, which will be a storyline that we'll continue to have at least throughout the entirety of not just this weekend, but anything that we have coming up for the CCL in the future, just because we've got a lot of that kind of next envelope being pushed with players that have been recruited, like you continue to allude to. A lot of them, of course, persisting in the challenger scene overall. We'll see a handful of those players, I'm sure, throughout this tournament when we eventually see teams like Ottawa and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of what we have in the front of us, at least for the day overall. You know, we don't have the ability to look over a bracket, but I already kind of mentioned a heavy hitting favorite. You look at the Ottawa Braves, they're on the bottom side of the bracket. You would expect that they would at least get to the winners semifinals, if not the winners finals without contest. But I think, you know, the top side of the bracket is a little bit more up for grabs, which is where these two teams find themselves. So let's jump on in. It's going to be Raid here for map number 1, and it looks like Kyle is going to get himself hot by killing a couple of teammates, which means that we will have a lobby restart in front of us.
Well, that gives us the opportunity to talk in full about the map set, at least. Yeah, that was right. We are starting off on Raid Hardpoint. That is correct. Of course, Moscow for the Search and Destroy and the Guaranteed Control going over towards Garrison. This is a good map set, in my opinion, for a lot of rosters that probably don't have a lot of time spent together. It offers a lot. You have just Raid Hardpoint, for example. You can find a lot of explosive nature from what I was already talking about with Kyle. If they're picking up the submachine gun, same could be said about Full Sail Armada. What they're going to be looking like, how many eliminations they're going to be able to find to really influence the rotations when we're talking about the crucial time when you have to go across the entirety of the map. And the Moscow Search and Destroy just kind of speaks for itself. It's just such a versatile map. We saw it all the way at the end of Champs. Very highly respected across a lot of the Call of Duty community.
And the biggest thing here is, we're coming off of obviously watching a lot of these teams from the regular season, which now it feels like an eternity to go because it was about 6 months ago now since we kind of had playoffs. But for a lot of these players, as much as we can sit here and try to break everything down, it really is just down to who individually is more talented at this point in time. Because let's be honest, we're not going to be seeing a lot of fully deep dives into things like search and destroy strats. I have to imagine a lot of the play calls are just, let's go A, let's go B, things like that nature. Yeah. So that'll be really interesting, I think, just to see who has takeover potential. Because when we did our kind of our final tournament that we had from a couple of weeks ago, when we were doing this with eFuse, we had a situation to kind of look over the top of these same teams that were playoff favorites, and they're not in the same playoff form that we saw of them back at the end of April. So a lot of it, I think you do have to kind of pick out an X factor, a heavy hitter, and just hope that if you're on the other side of that player, you can just try to keep them honest and try to keep them at least somewhat level.
Yeah, that's what it mostly just going to come down to. That solo takeover, or we might just be able to see some of these teams that haven't really putting their nose down to the grindstone. I know that MTV Blue could be up there, but without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right in towards this first map. Raid Hardpoint is underway. Sports at UCF, though. You can see them starting off, at least on the favorite side. They will have immediate access towards Kitchen. They're not really zoning away the backside of it, though, so this could get Aka a certain ability to try to pinch it from the back.
See how things unfold. Not a single kill tallied so far for the Armada. Looking like, I don't even know what. I was going to try to make some reference to some failed naval experience in the past.
I was ready for it. I was geared up for it.
I know. There's a couple on my mind, but at the moment, the Spanish-looking Armada is actually Esports at UCF. They're looking indomitable, only giving away a single kill so far, and this is not at all what we would expect from Full Sail Armada after kind of their historical performances over the top of the last 2 seasons. But that said, you talked about the fact that these are 4 brand new players that we did not really see at all over the last 2 years.
No, not at all. And there's a lot to be said about that. Not only just knowing who their individual names are. I'm sure everybody in chat will probably let us know if they are acquainted with them, but still as a 4-player unit, this is where Esports UCF, just coming off of the cusp of just finding a handful of kills, are able to at least zone away for P1, but the Armada finally getting themselves up the board, or inserting themselves into this kitchen affair, and they have the close spawns to reinforce.
Just needed to get a little bit warmed up, get a couple of shots out of the weapons, and maybe there's a chance. But Kyle will finally get a break. First break we've seen so far through 2 hills, 25 seconds to play with. So UCF has given away just short of about half the time. And now on the rotation, looks like Full Sail is happy just to give this time up. I would argue that this is a bit more passive than you would like to see, but heck, if both teams are going to struggle to break like we've seen so far, this might be the play. Just rotate early and get set up.
They're 1 player shy of this, so this might just be a 3v2 once we end up going all the way over towards Garage. You can see that Mystical Goat is still inside of Red, waiting for the
nade?
cross. Yeah. I'm not too sure, but you still have coverage from the black van, and that's going to be good enough to thwart the initial attempt to break 3.
Johnny Rico is throwing utility out on Rodeo Drive right now. Those aren't even coming close to actually doing any damage. But first 20 seconds is still good, regardless of how the utility's been faring. Rico will fall. Aka trying to pick it up, has found himself at least one, trying to track down Kyle, but a pinch is coming from the backside of AC, and that'll be enough for the Golden Knights to break on in and get right back onto their winning ways.
Look, you got to tag those squirrels. You got to stun them down low so that way they don't come up and inside the kitchen area. That's the last thing that you want here in this beautiful mansion. But UCF going to be able to work their way in, got themselves just another break, and you can continuously do this. You can start to cement yourself with this leader's advantage if you could start just breaking with about 30 seconds remaining in the hard point, soak up the remaining of the scrap time, rotate all the way across the map, and we'll just do it again. Full Sail Armada are only walking away essentially with just about the opening 20 seconds of both 2 and 3.
Yeah, we need to see a little bit more participation here just on the rotation or on the holds from Full Sail. We talked about the fact that for Esports at UCF, the first hill was uncontested completely as they held full, but the last two, it's been essentially hard holds for Full Sail, broken immediately by Esports at UCF, and now for the Golden Knights once again, they find their way to break, but this time early on rotation. Kyle, the Brazilian, 6 in a row, looking for 7. 6 more shots to deal with, only needs a couple more bullets as that player was 1 HP, and with that, artillery strike has been earned. Now it's just on to seeing if you can find a way to get the cruise missile, and it looks like Kyle's just gonna go hunt and try to catch someone off guard, of which Aka will not be ready for that whatsoever. Full streaks, and UCF dominating through the first rotation.
14-5 on that 9 streak. Kyle has another one in front of him. There's number 10. Keeping the hot hand going, and again, that will garner them the middle of the map where P5 does reside. We'll be popping just in about 1 second, and the setup is a good one too. So Full Sail Armada, the way they're setting this up, it's going to be an attempt for an effective pinch, both from open staircase and ring.
Kyle's got to be feeling like how quickly and easily he's found these 10 kills that he could potentially push towards 20, but he does get pinched at the exact wrong moment as he looked over towards pillars. Push came through open stairs, and the surround for the Armada is good, at least initially, to get some players off the hard point. But now Chris, he's got himself 4 in a row. Switches over to the SMG, not going to finish off the final. Red guy into the hard point with 33 seconds to play here. Scrappy fights happening around the perimeter, but Mystical Goat will change things. Get the kill, and now finally Full Sail back in to generate some score.
Yeah, they need all of this time plus the scrap, and would need a solid rotation through pillars in towards the second set. This was all Esports at UCF's first set of hills. Again, Full Sail Armada, they got on the board back on P2 and P3 for the initial time. Same could be said for 4. The UCF were just hot off the gunny and just so fast to be able to break these hard points. This is why you see the 100-point lead and growing for UCF in towards the second set.
Good zone coming through here from Kyle on another streak, 4 in a row for him. Still has, of course, both streaks that he currently holds to potentially use if he wants to. Long-range shots brilliantly found, and this is why we kind of gas up certain players here at the CCL. Yep. Kyle is definitely one of those guys that is looking to turn Vanguard into, I would have to imagine, his most successful Challengers year so far. And, well, he's going to be able to get some, at least some reps in when it comes down to playing with this UCF team. 192-67 the current tally, but Full Sail has fought back, got themselves into this first hard point, and now it's just down to, can you push forward? No, the cruise missile's good for 3. The timing absolutely perfect from Kyle, and with that, UCF right back into the hill, looking to get over 200 points.
Surpassed 20 kills up to 24-7 on a 5 spree, 25-7. Just give us more Kyle. He's going to continuously push up. Well, there you go. I just went ahead and immediately cursed our observer, but even still, the influence, we talked about it heading in towards this entire series with rosters that we are unfamiliar with, that probably don't have that much time spent together, who can solely impact the game. We've been seeing it happen for many years between you and me, Alan, and this time around, it's Kyle's turn. Here comes the hit from the front. Kyle is just baiting you in. Chris will get the third. Kyle will go ahead and shot punch his teammate saying, hey, I want this feed. Get out of my way. And Kyle's just going to go ahead and claim it with the Diamante anyway.
Get out of my way. What are you doing? It's a one-man mission. I go rogue on the TL. I go rogue in game. And UCF is going to go, well, pretty comfortably into a map 1 win here. Artillery strike just to block the front door. Obviously, the read is that Full Sail is trying to move around the back. That will be shut down. Kyle for 7 again. Oh, man. Absolute devastation. Slacked that through a triple nade, that triple team nade on raid P1.
Yeah.
We've seen some wild things on this map, but that one very well may take the cake.
just completely just paving through everybody. I mean, like, look, if you could somehow count that towards the kill tally, including those 3 team kills, I mean, we were close to 30 kills right there for Kyle.
Yeah, really were.
With less than 10 deaths. And that is, again, why this conversation is going to go in full circle, especially here at the collegiate level, especially when you have certain colleges offering these esports programs to where you can actually recruit certain individuals like Kyle to not only pursue their degree, but also a Call of Duty career as well. It's such a beautiful sight to see since the years of us just starting back here at CCL. But even still, it's that sole influence. that everybody at Full Sail Armada just could not seem to find a trade or
Yeah, it's really, really tough. I think when you're going up against a competitor quite like that, I mean, who, like we mentioned, we saw this kind of in the last CCL tournament we ran in this quote unquote off-season period here for the regular Collegiate COD series, but you have to be able to find a way to deal with players at that level, no matter what time of year it happens to be. In particular, when it comes down to something like this, you feel like you're just not going to be able to put the reins on them. Because, like, we saw that let me put it this way. The way that we talk about these kind of players in the regular season, when you're playing up against some major known heavy hitters, especially in the challenger scene, is that you have to collectively, as a full 5-man or 4-man squad, just be better than the team across the board. It's one of those things that, like, the individual talent can't necessarily carry you through a game like Call of Duty. And we saw a handful of teams last year do that very successfully. You can also talk about, like, the Concord effect from Modern Warfare. Same situation kind of is unfolded and talked about there. When we're in these offseason tournaments, though, the ability for individual players just to run rampant and take over is very high, and we're seeing that here in map number 1 of the day.
Yeah, you brought up a very interesting point, too, is that, when we're in these off-season tournaments, especially just at the Call of Duty scene in general, let alone the collegiate scene to speak of, that they don't necessarily, spend their free time, their summer vacation away from college, grinding out the game. That's a way that almost, bring me back to college. That was a release. I was done with my schoolwork late at night. Let's go ahead and hop in a couple of 8s, maybe play a couple of games with the homies, and then, that could lead to a couple tournaments on the weekends, but summer vacation just hits differently. Cold War, I mean, the second that it hit, everybody was just so quick to be able to either go play throwbacks, Black Ops 4, Modern Warfare to get a feel for how Vanguard was going to be like. And then once the beta drops, I mean, everybody it was just all over that as well. So, I mean, Cold War, to be able to hop back in here, it's got to be feeling pretty weird for a lot of these players that probably haven't touched the game in a few different months. But, that's just one of those definitive reasons of why anybody that has, a tremendous centering, has been known to slay out across multiple titles, could just find so much influence in these offseason games.
Very much so the case. And we're going to be saying that story pretty much throughout the entirety of the weekend, especially as we start to get deeper and deeper in. And that's where the excitement, I think, really kind of starts to unfold, is you get a very early look as far as not only who the heavy hitters are possibly going into the new season with new schools, but on top of that, I'm actually more excited to see the collective kind of underdog stories with players that we've never seen before, whether it's because a school has gotten some turnover, graduating seniors, bringing in new faces. Obviously, recruitment is definitely a big hot button topic issue when it comes into what's happening next season. But we've heard the story of so many different players that have almost, and I wouldn't even say almost, they have actually definitively made their come up as a competitive player through the CCL. You talk about players like Crook, you talk about players like Velix. Like, there are a number of those players that never had really seen a high level of competition before until they got in the CCL. And then they started to find, at least this last year, for those two in particular, very successful challengers years. So it's really interesting to kind of see the collegiate scene be thrown into that step ladder, kind of almost synonymously, if not at the same level as challengers in some ways, in some departments. Obviously not a 1-for-1 completely, but in some instances, I think you can make that argument.
Definitely earned a lot of respect across the amateur scene for a lot of these collegiate players. They don't get berated as much anymore. Moscow opening destroy round at Esports at UCF as far as an offense is concerned will be first-blooded. Megan, she will go down. That's not going to dissuade Red Guy from picking up the bomb and going ahead and putting that down.
Love the commitment. Aka, 1v2 situation, not going to be able to finesse around the pillars quite enough. Leaving Nova by themselves now. 1v3 situation plus the defuse required. Tall task, that much is for sure, especially as Kyle did get a couple of opening shots in, wanted to chase down the kill, and is successfully able to do that with the help of teammates around the outside. So this is kind of the moment that wins the round, really. It's the fact that Kyle gets control of pillars, and from there, there's really no chance for Full Sail to get back into the zone.
Yeah, they did have a player trying to, effectively pinch from the opposite side, but, when you put that lone island player all the way over by Fountain, they need to at least find one. I mean, you're essentially going to be shooting a couple players in the back. They only walk away with just one kill from that. And that was just the opening first blood on a Megan. But again, we got to continuously talk about the influence that you can bring with the submachine gun in that pillar spot. Kyle, the Brazilian, able to influence a lot of that. Also, Armada said that A push looked pretty delicious. We'll try it ourselves.
Indeed. Needs to open up a little bit of space. Counter nades for Full Sail through the middle of the map, though, so they've got a lot of clearance down through the B Street and at mid-checkers. Mystical Goat can be the one responsible to try to lock this down with assistance. That's going to be Number 7 of Aka, who's also here trying to watch the Eskies, but Megan, she slips through. Not quite able to find anything with it, but Kyle on the flank is able to convert onto 1 elimination. Now here comes the push. From the backside, Kyle is taken down. Red guy from the front, not able to secure his first elimination, so Megan needs to get activated mid-map, and as she tries to, also cannot confirm any kills. Full Sail just staying alive throughout it, and Megan for the 1v3 not going to get off the ground. Full Sail, they snap right back.
And that was a great post plan, right? I mean, essentially it was what was about like a player and a half of defense. I'll say that much, which is how the defense was set up there for Esports at UCF. But regardless, once the bomb did inevitably go down, it was the post plan setup. And again, much like you said, they were really just respecting and keeping their lives. That set up a lot of success, not to ego chow out, just trading off information, saying, hey, I found damage there. Hey, there was a player over here. Let's make sure that we have this cross covered. And that was just a very, very nice clinical round out of Full Sail Armada. Now Esports at UCF going to be playing this aggressive round, and, well, 3 players will be here defensively in kind.
It's weird. We're obviously very close to day 365 of this game, but these strategies are very much so day 1 strats. Full-on rush, throw nades to get into A. That's been the case now for 3 straight rounds. Chris able to take down Johnny Rico. A huge 1v1 for either side, depending on who won it. Leaving Nova now 1v2. Sees 1, almost an opportunity for the second. Kyle finessing, trying to stay alive. Here comes the double challenge, and that will be enough. You give UCF just the slightest window to make the right play. They absolutely will convert, but nearly an opportunity if Nova could find the first and maybe even clutch up the 1v2.
I think it is very interesting because, especially between you and me, throughout the entire tenure of Cold War, both all the way up to the CDL down here at the Collegiate, just the overall transition from the meta to how people were playing like this at the beginning of the season. Then we got super methodical through the middle of the map, trying to find that first blood over towards Boulevard, then swiftly going up escalators over towards A. Probably won't see much of that this weekend, though, Shifts. Just not a lot of time spent together as a team. Probably won't see a lot of set strategies. Again, the search and destroy community, although a big one, it would be a lot to be able to see a lot of the collegiate scene kind of pair along with it. But the offense for Full Sail Armada kind of just defaulting out, just waiting to see where a lot of these crosses are going to be coming from. Kyle's getting aggressive over towards Boulevard. That first blood.
Yeah, not a lot of help being thrown that direction. It eventually comes, though. So they go 1 for 1. And maybe an opportunity here to re-hit a bomb site in a 3v3 nature. I was about to say the only problem is Chris has gotten control, rather, of that back brick wall. And that is a position you just do not want to be trying to challenge through. So now all of a sudden, Full Sail, after losing their 3rd member, are just at a 2v3.
They're essentially just trapped over here, too. I mean, Johnny's going to throw a couple shots. That's going to be over towards Chris by pillars. And Leeds goes in for the one challenge inside of escalators. That'll be Megan. She will go down 2v2. But Chris is still over on this position as well. And they will definitely just let them know. Going to go ahead and find the first. That'll go ahead and just call for the challenge over towards escalators. And I think that I lost my co-caster.
Oh, I'm good. I think I'm here.
Oh, he's back. Oh, hey. I was afraid that the mountains actually took you for real this time.
They did for a second, a split second.
You can't have
at least, I know. Well, I don't know if they're going to have a debate about it. We've had a plethora of problems on my end today. It's just been, a whole
box
thing.
of issues is the way that I coined it.
That's a fair way of coining it. Yeah. But we're back in. We're good. 3-1 to tally. Chris is having himself a game, and this is again one of those things that why we talk about. New players, new schools, you start to learn about some extra guys, and Chris had a really good hard point. 5-1 obviously here, rocking down that AR. Aka over the top, good angle, finds one. Mystical Goat follows up. That's from the middle of the map. He gets a double. Chris now has to go 1v4. Does find the first and does it cleanly. And on top of that, he has the opportunity, if he can win one more kill, to earn an artillery strike. Now, let's hold our horses. I wouldn't expect him to use it in this round, but maybe the ping could be very useful if you wanted to try to do something special here.
This is about preserving your life, going forward. Aka's still on that head glitch. He's going to check it one more time. This comes down to timing. Some more shots going to be coming through, and Chris is going to recover this bomb. Wants to try to make this happen. Challenges. Nova will put them down, so no artillery strike, no streaks of any kind, and that's set up essentially for Full Sail Armada. That resembled a lot of their post plan when they did effectively get control of that site. And keep in mind, again, UCF through all of their offensive rounds have just bull rushed their way over towards A. Much like you said, it's a day 1 strategy. Just throw nades over top of escalators. If any trophy systems claim them, at least you have some information. This time around, the kills don't come through because Full Sail Armada are just hard scoped on the angles.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Obviously the A site is the easy default site, I think, from what we saw in the early stages of Cold War. But I think as teams started to learn and develop, the B site is not an impossibility. It's not like it's even any more difficult. It's just a little bit further to get there. It's almost like a matter of convenience more than it is actual strategy. Rico going to jump right on in, tries to plant. They have not cleared off statue, though. Kyle finds one. Chris able to take down one more. Mystical nearly a chance to lock on for a double, but only gets one of the two. So it all falls onto Nova. He gets a look at Megan, but doesn't like it. Backs away, finds Kyle instead. Regardless, easy kills for Esports at UCF as they now go up 4-2.
I think it's an interesting conversation point regardless, that B not only being very accessible, the middle of the map is very welcoming as well. Through the gold alleyway and getting control of your window as well from the attacker's side. But I think that what you're mostly looking at is what both teams are essentially leaning towards, especially towards offense. I mean, Esports UCF, of course, leaning towards Kyle. You're going to find a lot more value with the submachine gun over towards A, trying to bully your way through there, rather than methodically having to lean on your ARs, looking towards that boulevard in the mid-cross. So we'll have to see if it kind of fares them. They're going to go towards this middle map, our Esports at UCF. The setup, though, you're mostly looking at Nova inside that cutout wall to communicate towards Johnny inside of the courtyard if they can collapse or get information here in checkers.
Yeah, patient approach here for really the first time for UCF.
Truly.
Kyle does have the bomb. He's going to commit to bringing this into the middle of the map. Good look at Nova's topside window. Coming quickly to help his Mystical go, and the timing was nearly perfect, simply due to the fact that number 2, Red Guy, never had an angle to actually watch the Eskies forward push, but doesn't make a difference. The gunfight not won. Now it's on to Johnny Rico from behind. Megan deals with him, no problem. And it's been clean so far for Central Florida. Naka, last player left. Good look at a couple of members. Sees one, finds the kill. Isolated 1v1 with Megan. Not going to take it initially. Knows that he's got pressure from the right, but Megan decides to push on from behind, and that will leave Chris for an easy cleanup. UCF, convincing in the hard point. Starting to find a lot of breathing room here in the search.
And Johnny's probably sitting there just scratching his head. He's like, man, I probably should have just pushed through the closer angle rather than trying to wrap all the way around. A long-range engagement was a good one. Megan actually fully read it. Was able to get that gunfight because Johnny was essentially going to be in that position to try to blow up that offensive rotation up through escalators wide open off of Kyle's first blood. More or less to just confirm all of that was going down, but it just simply could not happen. 10-3 for Kyle here up on map point. It's going to be a defensive round if they want to end it here. The offense for Full Sail Armada looking for that gold alleyway. And they do have the bomb being carried by Johnny. They are inside that gold window as well. Kyle is just... they're probably creating such a ruckus over here. I mean, I wouldn't even want to challenge this.
Yeah, he's on the hunt. That much is for sure. But Aka does at least stop him in his tracks with a couple of tags through mid-map. Kyle looking to still push the issue. And why not when you've got shots like this? But Nova's nearby, might not make a difference. Kyle, my goodness, clean shots coming out of the 74U. Backs off both AR players for the Full Sail Armada. And now a lot of time is off the clock. Kyle still keeping some forward pressure. Reads Aka, finds the first. Wants more than that, but the trade is there. Megan able to combine for a 2-for-1. Bomb down 35 seconds. Nova needing to find a way to collect and still find kills.
Megan knows that Nova's here. Nova's going to go for the challenge too. Megan preserving her life. Smart call here in this 3v2. Nova's going to recover the bomb, slides their way to safety. But Megan's just going to push it all the way through. Going to see if they can get some shots from behind. Go in an isolated 1v1 versus Chris will lose it. Now it's all up to Nova to stay alive in this map.
Yeah, and Megan continued to push through, so there's going to be pressure from multiple sides, but Megan does not need to find the final kill because Red Guy lingering mid-map has done the job for the Golden Knights. That's going to be 6-2 on the board after a 250-72 hard point, I believe. Yep. So, I mean, it started off a little bit close in both the maps that we've seen so far, but in the end, UCF looking like the far better team, at least on the day.
Yeah, we could talk about a lot of different things. We could make a lot of analogies for it. The only one that I truly have for you is that not only is it's a quickness race, but you're also looking at the stamina as well. When you're able to go 1-for-1, you're able to find a couple trades, and then Kyle starts to find just these angles, and they're just probably saying to themselves, "Look, I'm just gunning them at this point. I'm just going to continuously just disrespect all the space. I'll take the map myself, even with a 74U." You can go back to that last round, taking a 1v2 challenge down the gold alleyway with a 74U, knowing that two players are on opposite sides, but he wasn't fully dissuaded because he knew he could keep his life. those are the types of things that are just so terrifying down here at the level for collegiate. And Kyle is just pushing it to a certainty, and going into the Garrison control, that's something that we're probably going to keep our eyes on.
Definitely will need to be, but we'll step away for just a brief break. When we come back, map number 3. It's going to be reverse sweep required for the full sail Armada. Otherwise, they'll have to sail their way through the lower bracket to make the full run. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. Well, it's only 5 miles that separate both of these schools, at least by proximity, but in the game of COD, a much greater distance is currently between both of these two schools. 250-71, the first favoring University of Central Florida. The Moscow Surge also a 6-2. So Full Sail would have to find a way to put together a reverse sweep, and we have to start here on the Garrison control. I think I could speak for probably not just myself, but also you, Andy, that we're not feeling all that hopeful going to a Garrison control that they're going to be able to find a way to put a leash on Kyle, the Brazilian, on the opposite side.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle goes for almost 30 in map number 1, claiming even their own teammates' life. Goes for 10 in map number 2. Like, just completely just disrespecting all of the space. And it's not to say that they're doing it in a disrespectful manner. It's just how you're more or less just seeing Kyle recognizing that, hey, my gun skill is just a little bit above everybody else's in the lobby, and I can influence this map single-handedly with my 74U, mid-range, long-range, close range. It doesn't really matter. As long as Kyle, take that search, for example, can find first blood, go 1 for 2, keep 3 players trapped with their 74U, the hard point influence a lot of these rotations. Now you're going to accumulate all of that into control, and especially on a map like Garrison, where you have a lot of these tight corners, the nooks and the crannies of what Kyle could probably get very creative for, to be able to make a lot of influence through the middle of the map. So that way all of UCF can get set up. I mean, Full Sail Armada, we're going to have to see some of that great defensive setup and post-plant of what we saw in those brighter rounds, and it has to come through by way of a couple of team shots as well if you want to stop this UCF squad here.
It's one of those things that, you could have all of the defensive pressure that you want, but one of the things that you kind of have to think back and get nostalgic about control overall. Teams defensively dominated the conversation on control for the first, we'll say, 2.5 months. I would say 3 if you're being really loose looking at it from the challengers, middle of challengers in the college COD level. But by the point you're 4 months into the game, you have to be winning offense. You just have to, or at least keep it close. So that's where my big kind of problem starts to unfold here. Maybe not as much of a problem as Johnny Rico's aim right there. A little bit shaky, and once again, the opening of this respawn dominated by the Golden Knights, only giving away 5 kills so far.
Oh, there's the 6. Optimism, 7. All right, but still 7 seconds, though, left on the clock. You're not going to make this offensive push happen if you're Full Sail Armada. And you're right to talk about how defense have really taken control at the beginning of this game. This map was no exception, especially when we were looking at checkmate control as well. All defensive side, but the teams really started to learn how to play these opening breakoffs, especially for the offense, just bait out unforced errors and then take the map control there on after. Again, because we are down here with teams that are relatively new with one another, you're probably going to see them more or less try to default-esque towards these lanes. Maybe you'll see 2 within 1, but if they can't at least find that trade and turn and convert that into map coverage, well, the offense is just going to spiral out of control, and the defense is just going to start spawn camping you inside of these very tight corridors. So, very definitive defense out of UCF. Let's see what they can do on their offense here, Alan.
Yeah, and for Full Sail, you have to do something similar here defensively. At least win the defense. If you give up a pointer, a couple of ticks, so what? But you have to win this defense. Otherwise, this match very well may be over. And you start considering what you have to do to get through the lower bracket. Good 1v1 win there for Nova. Able to take down Chris. That'll open up some space for the defense to work with, at least for a small time. It does at least require UCF to have to do some clearance, but Kyle, again, good over the top of the heady. It's this, yeah, of course, he's able to win a lot of face-up gunfights, but it's the ones that he's getting over the top of headies that have really impressed. Doesn't matter who you're shooting back against. Finding clean shots like this is impressive anywhere you go. Kyle for 3 and UCF all over the B zone.
Oh, and Kyle's just going to go ahead and push him for a couple spawn kills, but smart stuff for out of the mystical goat just to lay prone and just to bait out of the positioning. Only 1 tick of progression so far. There's only just 1 player that was over here just soaking up it, but I mean, at this point where it's 20v21, it's not too far gone. Your immediate consideration as far as the win condition is concerned for Full Sail Armada for this defensive round might just come down to the clock. UCF are continuously trying to flush out all of these kills. Red guy for 2 mid-map. Megan trying to find the third on top green. Red guy will find it with a Semtex. So 3 for them. That'll be covered towards the B zone again.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I think just after the initial push through for Kyle, there was a little bit of greed being showcased. You know, just get on the zone, stack it. So after that greed was punished, it's down to can you recover? And, of course, UCF can. 10-5 for Kyle, opening up space now through square. Wants to push in towards the backside of Cobble, and why not? One more, slides across. Doesn't bait on any shots. So we'll go back, play a little bit more safely. Aka over the top side of green has kept this defense at least formidable for now. 16 playing up against 12, minute 13 on the clock, but Kyle's still a problem, and you can't just solo chow. You've got to find a way to get together and deal with Kyle as a team. Long range now in the Nova, and eventually the weakened health pool will be eventually what puts him down, but it's a 14 playing up against 8. And the Knights have so much space to work with, whether it be by playing on the zone itself or just winning this off of lives alone.
Yeah, and they might just do both within succession of one another. They're starting the progression over towards A. They found the opening off a handful of kills to flood out from top green. Kyle is now going to push all the way through this A ramp. Duck down incredibly low, goes for the jump challenge. Johnny will take them down, but you still have this platform. This was changed a little bit ago, of course, so that way you can contest from this specific area. And UCF just continuously just boarding the clock. 54 seconds. Second tick of progress has already been guaranteed.
Yep, and that's pretty much the round guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
10 lives remain for UCF as they completely ride off of Kyle's momentum through the middle of the map to just slaughter the life count. And I think if you just deal with Kyle a bit sooner, I mean, there were a couple of different times we noted on the state of the game where it's like, okay, 21 playing up against 20, 17 playing up against 16. You know, even though the B zone was gone in the second attempt, Full Sail were staying in it really up until this streak right here.
I think it's mostly just the discrepancy of play, right? I mean, for Esports at UCF, of course, off of the back end of Kyle are finding a lot of value in just being overall aggressive on their defense, and they can get in your face. But what Full Sail Armada really need to lean on is what they were able to find off that opening break. You know, it was a 3 for 2 as far as the opening break off was concerned, and they just needed to hold. There was no reason to try to push in. You just have to wait for them to cross over towards you because the crates are starting to find a lot of value. Or I should specify, Nova's starting to find a lot of good value. There they are for first blood this time around. But you got to just be able to keep their life tough gunfight for Johnny. They'll find the second, but this isn't too bad. As you see, Full Sail Armada, they're already on the A zone.
But you have to hold with just these two remaining members. Nova and Mystical have to do it all. Mystical hiding into a corner. He is seen by Megan, who does eventually finish the kill. So one tick of progress. I think we can classify that as not bad, but a lot of work to be done here. And you have to feel like it needs to be convincing as well if you want to try to get to a position to where eventually you find yourself with round 5 defense, because obviously that's what's required now of Full Sail is the little mini reverse sweep here in the control and a full reverse sweep on the series. Long range shots just a bit off for Rico. Clean kills coming out for UCF as the defense will move not just over through the zones, but even beyond that. You take a look at what you get out of Red Guy. He is all the way forward on their spawn truck.
Yeah, and UCF are just cycling players out in their spawn. And when they had that good look over towards A where that ticket progression did come through, the blind trust was coming out from UCF. They had 2 players that did end up going down over by Dark, but they were still holding the other 2 players in their spawn for quite some time, and that then sets up this entire situation that is just so annoying to deal with. 24v12, Red Guy still in your spawn on an 8-3, streaked out of their mind, 12 seconds left to play. This is a 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, so let's just take, you know, let's call a spade here. Full Sail has a lot that they're going to need to work on. And I'm not going to sit here and take too much away from this title in particular, but just looking at the overall gun skill and the way they're taking challenges, like, you have to know when someone is pushed that far forward and they're isolated to be able to overwhelm with numbers. I mean, these are not double chows. These are players trying to make their way out of spawn, and Red Guy just continues to line them up one by one by one, eventually getting to 10, because when I had even mentioned it in the first place, you know, we talked about, hey, Red Guy's actually threw into the spawn truck. He looked like he was going to be up a creek without a paddle for a while. Apparently, little did we know, he's got the leg strength of Michael Phelps and can swim his way through any problematic spots, apparently. So, I don't know, man. You got to do better than that if you're Full Sail, just when it comes down to isolating kills and knowing exactly when you should be taking 2v1s. And it never occurred there with Red Guy, and it hadn't occurred from the round previously with Kyle.
I'm sure there's a certain amount of frustration that probably started setting in there towards the end as well. You had that really decent opening break off for the offense. You had 2 players on the A zone. It was effectively a 2v2 both on the north and the south side of the map. You can't convert on either of them until you ended up at least dealing with one in your spawn down by dark, like I was talking about.
Sure.
But it was always just a lot of solo influence that was coming out there. Red guy showing up there at the end. Kyle through the opening 2 maps. Megan was also winning a lot of challenges. She looked really good fitting in with the aggression that UCF is able to back off of with Kyle the Brazilian on this roster. But you're not wrong, especially when it comes down to the core fundamentals of control and overall respawn across any Call of Duty. I don't really care at this point. You got to be able to count names. You got to be able to count where they might just be at as well. If we're pushing over towards dark in this example, and I haven't seen Red Guy in about, 2 lives at this point, where could they possibly be? It's probably over by the shipment tent, and lo and behold, Red Guy goes for 9.
Yeah, and you should know that after he gets his first couple of eliminations that, okay, let's deal with this problem before we move on.
Right.
But a lot more problems still remain for Full Sails. Now they drop to the lower bracket for UCF. They move forward, and they put themselves in a very nice spot to potentially make a bit of a run here, because on their side of the bracket, they will be playing up against what looks to be St. Edwards. I don't know why I said they were going to have an easy time, because St. Edwards is looking nasty based on the first time we had a chance to watch them from the previous tournament, which was kind of in that offseason period. They looked really good, making it all the way to the grand finals, playing up against that Concord team, and at least giving them a little bit of a workout. That was after what we said, like 4 days worth of even meeting each other, let alone playing together. So high expectations for St. Edwards, which is what looks like UCF will be going up into next. And for us, we will be kind of waiting for results to come through before we jump into the winners quarterfinal matchups. After that, again, we'll be going over to the semis, and then we'll finish off our day with 2 matches down in the lower bracket. That'll be lower round 3 and lower round 4, aka the lower quarterfinals. For now, though, we'll step away for a bit of a break. Hopefully, we won't have too long to kill before we can get set up for our next match. So again, big shout outs to both Zaxby's and Nature's Bounty for supporting the tournament here today. $1,000 on the line with the Florida Mutineers and CCL Invitational. We'll be back after this.